The Alaska SBDC has been operating since 1986 and has offices throughout the state of Alaska that served for-profit small businesses. The way the structure works, we receive a federal grant from the Small Business Administration along with a grant from the state of Alaska. We are also part of the Business Enterprise Institute through the University of Alaska, Anchorage, and we are employees of the university. The Alaska SBDC provides 3 primary services to small business owners: free, confidential, one-on-one business advising, small business workshops, and small business tools and referrals. To learn more about us or to register to become a client, please visit our website at www.aksbdc.org. I'm Stacy Stegar, Industry Specialist here at the Alaska Small Business Development Center, and I'm pleased to review this informative guide regarding opening an assisted living facility in Alaska, what you need to know about licensing, Medicaid certification, operational setup, and more. Just as a reminder, all of the green underlined text will take you directly to the document as a hyperlink. First, let's define what an assisted living facility is. Assisted living facility typically provides a combination of housing, meal services, personal care services, and medical care on a continuous or long-term basis. The idea is to assist those who are unable to live independently with activities of daily living. Residents are usually seniors, although some facilities cater to people of any age who may have developmental or other disabilities that make it difficult to live alone. Services and activities may include 24-hour supervision, 3 meals a day in a group dining room, personal care services such as help with bathing, dressing, and toileting, medication management or assistance with self-administration of medicine, some social services, supervision and assistance for persons with Alzheimer's or other dementia and disabilities, recreational and spiritual activities, exercise and wellness programs, laundry and linen service, housekeeping and maintenance, and they may make arrangements for transportation. Before you get started with any of this, you'll want to take the new provider orientation. It's a review of statutes and regulations and new home application workshops. It's offered by the Division of Healthcare Services through the Alaska Training Cooperative. This workshop will help answer many questions before you begin planning for your new business. Also, check out the Alaska Small Business Development Center Starting a Business Workshop and go through the 20 questions before starting a business. You will want to determine early on if you will lease space, buy space, or build space for your facility. Knowing where your location will be is an integral part of the licensing process. And knowing how much money you'll need to invest in procuring a building is essential in calculating startup costs. Speaking of costs, your next step is to research them. The Alaska Small Business Development Center has tools to help you create financial projections and get started with basic bookkeeping. You can even get help with researching and forecasting costs from an Alaska SBDC business advisor. Let's talk about what an assisted living facility is not. Many people believe that assisted living facilities and nursing homes are the same thing. The two have many similarities, but the biggest difference is the level of medical care. Nursing home residents typically require around-the-clock care and/or monitoring from medical specialists. Residents of assisted living facilities may require custodial care because they have conditions that make it unsafe to live alone, such as memory loss, but do not require constant medical attention. This document will cover requirements for assisted living. For information regarding nursing home requirements, contact the Alaska Health Facilities Licensing and Certification Department or your Alaska SBDC advisor. After researching your startup costs, the first action step should be to look for a home for your facility. Typically, purchasing a home or building one, leasing a space for an assisted living home is rare. Your location specifications are an integral part of the licensing process. It will not be possible to obtain a license from the state if you don't have a location secured. Work with a real estate professional or real estate attorney to help you find a location and work out the contract with the seller. Also, ask your Alaska SBDC business advisor for a referral for an attorney. Be sure to speak to your lender of choice to see what you can get pre-approved for before you start shopping. Alaska Housing Finance Corporation has loan programs for those looking to purchase real estate for senior housing and assistance provider purposes. Next, you'll want to obtain licensing. Your assisted living facility will need an assisted living home license from the state of Alaska through the Department of Health and Human Services. There are two types of licenses for assisted living homes. One serves a population who is 18 plus and has mental health or developmental disabilities, and the other serves a population who is 18 plus, has physical disability, is elder, or suffering from dementia, but not chronically mentally ill. Certifications for Medicare and Medicaid, although not required to operate, these programs will pay for many resident accommodations. Otherwise, your residents would have to be self-pay, which could hinder your business. You'll also need a business license from the state of Alaska. You'll also want to check with your borough, municipality, or city to see if a license is required there. You will need to have a NAICS code when you're applying for your business license. We've provided one here, 623312. You'll also want to see the Alaska SBDC How to Get a Business License in Alaska workshop and take the new provider orientation. It's a review of statutes and regulations and new home application workshop offered by the Division of Healthcare Services through the Alaska Training Cooperative. This workshop will help answer many questions before you begin the licensing process. Before beginning operations, you must get an assisted living facility license from the state of Alaska Division of Healthcare Services. The application process can be lengthy. The time it will take to become licensed will vary case by case, but it would be prudent to plan on a minimum of 6 months before your application is approved. An on-site inspection will also be conducted as part of the application process. Once your application is completed and reviewed, you'll be granted a probationary license. If your facility follows all statutes and regulations during the probationary period, you will then be granted a standard assisted living facility license. Check the DHCS website for the most up-to-date application and requirements, as they are subject to change. At the time this document was created, the initial application must be notarized and include contact information of the applicant, each person with ownership or interest in the home, the owner of the premises, if that's someone other than the applicant, and the name of the administrator. Also, the name of the assisted living facility, the address of the facility, evidence that the administrator meets the state requirements, and the maximum occupancy of the facility as determined by a fire safety inspection. You'll also need the number of residents the home intends to serve who have a primary diagnosis of mental illness or physical or developmental disability, are elderly or suffering from dementia but who are not mentally ill, the services the home proposes to offer, copies of all permits and approvals required by state or local government agencies for construction or operation of the home outside of the licensing agency, any variance requested based on exemptions provided by the state, and a staff plan that describes the number of employees, their responsibilities, and the plan must state the facility is willing to adapt the staff plan to meet the terms of an individual residential services contract with a resident or an assisted living plan prepared for a resident. You'll also have to include a disaster preparedness plan and an emergency evacuation plan that complies with state law. If you will be operating with 11 or more residents or operating multiple locations, you must submit a business plan too that includes a description of the plan, services offered, location of the business, a management and personnel plan, and a detailed projection of monthly expenses for 6 months. Also, information about any previous denial of an application, voluntary termination of a license under investigation, or termination of any administrator or care provider for cause. The application process will also involve an inspection of financial records to determine if the facility has sufficient financial resources to operate for a minimum of 3 months without resident income. You will need to submit the application with the required fee. In order to accept payment from Medicaid for qualifying residents, you will need to become certified through the Alaska Department of Health and Social Services. If you do not receive certification, your residents will only be able to be self-pay, which will significantly limit your clientele base. After you become a Medicaid certified provider, you must enroll as such in order to make claims for payment. You cannot enroll unless you are. So get certified, get enrolled, and then begin receiving Medicaid payment. To become certified to serve a population with physical disabilities, elders, or those suffering from dementia, but not chronically mentally ill, you'll need to fill out the Residential Supported Living Certification application. To become certified to serve a population with mental health or developmental disabilities, fill out the Residential Habilitation Certification application. Make sure you check out the application content guidance document to ensure that you understand the process and what will be required. This slide identifies the personal care service provider's certification application requirements. The application must include general information, name, contact information, and physical location, the type of the organization, the agency contacts, your business license, certification of insurance, critical incident report training completion certificate, an organizational chart, PCS program administrator notice of appointment, personnel list, policies and procedures and assurances must include admissions, assistance with self-administration of medication, background check, a backup plan for PCAs, critical incident reporting, financial accounting, quality improvement, restrictive interventions, termination and transfer of provider services, training, complaint management, confidentiality, notice of privacy practices, conflict of interest, emergency responses, and evaluation of employees. For operational setup, you're going to need to arrange for financing. The state requires assisted living facilities to have 3 months worth of operating expenses in the bank if the facility has under 5 residents, and 6 months of operating expenses in the bank if the facility has 5 or more residents before you can become licensed. Thus, the research you were asked to do regarding startup and operation costs is extremely important. If you don't know what your monthly expenses will be, you won't know how much money you'll need to become licensed. Check out the SBA loans and what the lender requires workshop and talk to an Alaska Small Business Development Center business advisor for more information and guidance. You'll need to set up a business bank account, and you might consider applying for a business credit card. You'll want to hire a bookkeeper or accountant if you don't want to fulfill those roles yourself, or you can purchase bookkeeping software such as QuickBooks. The Alaska SBDC offers a basic bookkeeping for entrepreneurs workshop to get you started. Hiring staff. The Alaska SBDC has created a checklist to aid in hiring your first employee. The staff at an assisted living facility might include an administrator, which is required, and they oversee the day-to-day operations of the facility. The designee, who's appointed by the administrator to act on behalf, a resident manager supervisor, and care providers. Care providers must be 21 if acting as the supervisor designee. They must be 18 to provide care without supervision, and 16 to provide care with supervision. They must be oriented with the facility's policies and procedures within 14 days of employment and must work with direct supervision for 3 days unless they have previous working experience with the facility's population. The requirements for an administrator are they must be 21, and if the administrator does not manage daily operations, then a resident manager must be appointed and meet the same criteria as an administrator. The administrator must have specific training or experience as defined by state law, or the department will accept a baccalaureate or higher degree in gerontology, health administration, or another health-related field in place of all or part of the required experience, if the degree works to serve to the department's satisfaction as an equivalent to the required experience. Equipment and furnishings. Furniture and equipment must be clean, durable, safe, easily cleanable, and kept in good repair. Furniture should be typical of other homes within the community that the assisted living facility is located in, and linens should be provided for the residents. You'll want to make sure you have the proper insurance coverage for your assisted living facility. That is very important. And at the very least, you will need to carry professional liability insurance, general liability insurance, homeowner's insurance for the house itself, and workers' compensation. You can ask your SBDC advisor for referrals to qualified insurance providers who can provide professional assistance in this area. You'll also need to register for taxes by applying for an employer identification number with the Internal Revenue Service. Your EIN acts as a business ID. It's also known as a federal tax ID or TIN. It will also be needed to open your business bank accounts, hire employees, and for tax reporting. If you are a sole proprietor with no employees, you can use your Social Security number instead of applying for an employer identification number. Please note that an EIN is always free and you can find the paperwork at www.irs.gov. Branding and marketing. While researching whether or not you were going to pursue opening a small business, you were asked to think about your niche. Who's your customers and what makes your services unique? Your niche market can be used to identify and develop your brand. Branding should begin before opening your assisted living business and taken into consideration when picking out design, decor, and fixtures for your facility to create a cohesive image. Consider hiring a professional to develop your logo and branding kit for print and online uses. Hire a branding specialist locally, or if that's not feasible or available, check out sites like Fiverr or Design Crowd. Once your logo and brand kit is complete and before you open, make a Facebook and Instagram account and start posting. If social media is not your thing, consider hiring a professional to manage your social media marketing. Ask your business advisor for a referral list to find a qualified provider. You'll also want to build a website. This can be hired out if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself. Order some business and/or appointment cards and rack cards with the list of your services and pricing. There are some regulations around advertising that you should be aware of when marketing your assisted living facility. Assisted living facilities in Alaska cannot advertise that they are a nursing home or that they provide nursing care unless the facility holds a license as a nursing or skilled nursing facility. A home may advertise that it provides housing, food service, personal assistance, assistance with the activities of daily living, or health-related services. So you've been doing all the research and you still have some additional questions, you can always get help from your business advisor at the Alaska Small Business Development Center. The Alaska SBDC provides resources, workshops, and no-cost business advice. Assistance is provided by experienced business advisors and experts through on-site and or online interactions or training, and at no cost to you, the client. Be sure to register with an Alaska SBD Business Service Advisor below. This final page has some additional resources that you may find helpful when planning to open your assisted living facility. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar.